back. Briscoe and Eves, you know who else is back?
Who that?
The Timberwolves. Game 3 against the Thunder. They on the board. And they got contributions in this game that they simply did not get in games 1 and 2. Isaiah Hartenstein, the miss. Watch Edwards. And you're like, well, they got contributions from Edwards. Yeah, they did. But he takes this like beating off the entire defense here. Timberwolves up 13-7 there. But what you're missing is the dunking. He did not have a dunk in the first 2 games of this series. He had 2 in the first quarter of this one alone. They also got contributions from other players like Terrence Shannon Jr.
8 minutes together, and that's what we did.
You seemed like you were in an offensive rhythm in ways that you weren't in the first 2 games. What felt different for you?
I feel like everything was the same besides the first game. I feel like the second game I was in the rhythm. My tray ball wasn't falling. Just getting back in the gym, watching shots go in and just keep trusting it, man. That's all.
Edwards had 30 points this one, and he has now totaled 1,095 career playoff points. It puts him ahead of Jason Tatum for the 5th most playoff points by a player before their 24th birthday. Eves, I know you and I haven't worked together, but no, Michael Malone and I have these standing appointments post-game. So here we are for our conversation. Like, there's only one way to describe this game, and that was just like wolves. They jumped out on the Thunder, like out of the gates, never slowed down, which was a complete reversal from what we've seen in the first 2 games. What stood out to you, though?
I could give you all the stats in the world, but to me, what really stood out was just how aggressive and how physical and how urgent the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. You didn't see that in game 1 and 2 in OKC. I felt Rudy Gobert had a really big influence on tonight's game. His aggression defensively, had 2 steals in the first half, being aggressive in the pick and roll, not letting Shea get comfortable, and they got out and ran. That was a really big change of events. Minnesota took care of the ball tonight. They did not do that on the road, and that fueled their break. And you got to give a lot of love to Julius Randle. After the first quarter in game 1, struggled as of late, but I thought Julius Randle was a difference maker tonight, was really aggressive, scored the ball, and once again, he was aggressive attacking the basket, not settling and putting pressure. The most aggressive teams, when you have 2 really equally talented teams, the most aggressive team usually wins, and I thought Minnesota was by far the more aggressive and the more physical team tonight. And you see the clips of Julius Randle getting into a rhythm, shooting into a big basket, and they're going to need even more come game 4 if they're going to have a chance to tie this up.
Okay, so the Thunder, I mean, we talk about how dominant they've been all season. They're used to doing what was done to them tonight. They're used to doing that to other teams, not so much being on the receiving end. So when you look ahead to game 4, what adjustments do they have to make to not have this happen again?
Well, obviously it starts with the MVP. Shea came off of a 38-point game in game 2, held to 14 tonight, only 4 free throw attempts, and had 6 turnovers. So he's got to set the stage. You can see right here, he had some really good looks that didn't go down. There's no doubt in my mind that Shea will be more than ready for the opportunity come game 4. But it starts and ends with him. Then behind Shea and his influence and his impact in game 4, he needs some help. Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams especially, got to step up and make shots when all the focus on the defense for Minnesota is worried about Shea. Other guys got to step up and make plays. And game 4 should be a great.
The legendary Stephen A. Smith, speaking as Rubon, NBA champion, Kendrick Perkins, the architect of the Warriors dynasty, Bob Myers, champion coach Michael Malone. I'm Malika Andrews. Gentlemen, we know the importance of this game here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. It feels like, Coach, if they are going to do it, they need to contain Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What has he done so well?
Well, he's dominated the series, the MVP, 35 points per game, and he leads the conference finals averaging 15 points a night in the paint. I want to show you 4 clips because these examples show him getting to his spots on a really easy and efficient manner. This first clip here, he's going to have the ball left sideline. Great job of creating separation and airspace for the step-back jumper over Jaden McDaniels. This is too easy. No resistance. Gets DiVincenzo in the post. Minnesota offers no help, leaving Dante DiVincenzo on an island. Turnaround jumper over the left shoulder. Pick and roll. Gobert's down the floor. He's operating in space. Gets to his jumper. 2 of his paint points here. And this last one, the most inexcusable and unacceptable by Minnesota, allows him the finger roll layup. Minnesota, where's the urgency? Where's the physicality? And where's the multiple effort?
They primarily use Jaden tools to try to contain SGA in Game 2. It just didn't work. They found some success on Anthony Edwards, who limited the MVP. Would you put Ant on him in this game?
Without a doubt, he's got to guard him tonight at some point.
How would you contain SGA here, Perks?
With both of them at the same time. Listen, I talked to 3 head coaches today, 3 championship head coaches, and they all said the same thing. They said they would double team him until he gives up the ball. He cannot be the one that's going to beat him. Hell, I wouldn't have sent the double team when they jet landed yesterday. That's how much I would want to get the ball out of his hands. You cannot let the best scorer in the league, the guy that won the scoring title, the MVP averaging 35 in this series, continue to beat you one-on-one with Rudy in the drop cover.
Shea is fantastic, right? And if you haven't watched Shea Gilgeous, watch this guy. If you haven't tuned into the NBA, he's worth it. He deserved the MVP. They got the best record in the league. They're better than I thought, and I thought they were pretty good. I don't know why we don't appreciate what they've done all year. If you would have asked any of us who's going to win the title this year, we always look at the team that just won it. I said Boston. You probably said Boston. I don't know what you thought because you were coaching. You probably said the Nuggets. We said Denver. We don't properly respect teams until they win the championship. This team is the favorite to win the championship, and I think, no disrespect to what's going on even here in Minnesota or what's going on in the Eastern Conference. By the way, I blame you for what's going on in the Knicks. I blame you for what's going on.
We're going to get to that, don't you worry.
We'll get there. But lastly, this Thunder team looks like the best team left, and it's not even close.
Well, you can say that, and nobody's in a position to refute you. However, we got to look at the Minnesota Timberwolves and what they're not. SGA, when he's on the court, he is a plus 47. That is 11 points better than anybody in the postseason. Ant-Man is minus 45. Only Dante DiVincenzo being on the court at a minus 47 is worse. That's horrible. You can't have that attached to your name if you're Ant-Man. So I'm not saying don't double SGA, but I'm saying you embrace the challenge if you're Ant-Man of guarding him, because there's such a discrepancy, at least statistically, from what both superstars have given us in this series. And as a result, you're looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves on the verge of getting swept. And who thought we would be having that conversation? If you Ant-Man, you got to embrace that challenge.
I think Anthony Edwards, he knows the stakes of this game. They went down 0-3 to Dallas last year. We know what the end of that story looked like. Another team that is hoping not to face that devastating of a
6 straight road playoff wins. Now 7-0 in clutch time this postseason. First team to do that second part since LeBron in the 2011 Heat. No team has won 8 straight clutch time playoff games since the 99, who won the title, and they did so by winning a couple of those clutch time games over the Knicks in the finals.
The Thunder have dominated the West.
We are back. Briscoe and Eves, you know who else is back?
Who that?
The Timberwolves. Game 3 against the Thunder. They on the board, and they got contributions in this game that they simply did not get in games 1 and 2. Isaiah Hartenstein, the miss. Watch Edwards. And you're like, well, they got contributions from Edwards. Yeah, they did, but he takes this like beating off the entire defense here. Timberwolves up 13-7 there, but what you're missing is the dunking. He did not have a dunk in the first 2 games of this series. He had 2 in the first quarter of this one alone. They also got contributions from other players like Terrence Shannon Jr.
8 minutes together, and that's what we did.
You seemed like you were in an offensive rhythm in ways that you weren't in the first 2 games. What felt different for you?
I feel like everything was the same besides the first game. I feel like the second game I was in the rhythm. My tray ball wasn't falling. Just getting back in the gym, watching shots go in and just keep trusting it, man. That's all.